This was as close as Smith will ever get to presenting the evidence that he had in these cases. What stood out to you?
I have to say, having read the transcript in full, I thought it was a remarkable session. Having interviewed many people in my time, deposed people in my time, read many deposition transcripts, I don't think I've ever seen a transcript in which the party calling the witness manages to make basically no points and score no points. The Republicans, throughout the whole thing, they did not manage to actually call into question any of the evidence that Smith recited, referenced, or any of the evidence that has already become public concerning, in particular, Trump's responsibility and alleged criminal conduct surrounding his effort to stay in power after the 2020 election. Republicans spent much of their time complaining about how some of their phone records were caught up in the investigation, trying to make themselves victims, when in reality, as Smith explained to them, the reason why their phone records were picked up was because of Trump's conduct and their own conduct.
Their whole goal was to try to convince the American people that Jack Smith was acting in a political way, right? But what we saw in this deposition is that his star witnesses were not Democrats. His star witnesses were going to be Republicans. These are people who supported Donald Trump and voted for him, who wanted Donald Trump to win. We're talking about the Republican speakers of the House in Arizona and Michigan. What struck me, did you see this, Kevin? What struck me was this reference to a Republican congressman in Pennsylvania, who was an elector for Trump, who told Smith's team that what Trump was doing was trying to overthrow the government. He was doing it illegally. So that's why, Laura, that this deposition wasn't public as a break from precedent, as previous special counsel hearings are. That's why they released this transcript on New Year's Eve, right? And we're talking about it on New Year's Day at a time when most people are either recovering from last night, having a good time, or eating their greens and black-eyed peas today, right? They may
not be watching, unfortunately.
They may not be watching. Hopefully they'll see it on social media, but they were trying to bury this transcript because it was damaging to Republicans.
Well, I mean, look, I followed this, investigation very closely. I wrote about it quite a bit. I'm quite confident that Trump is going to be convicted if that case had gone to trial, if the Supreme Court's Republican appointees had not interfered to prevent it from going to trial. And the point that he made is worth underscoring, because this has been a frankly inane talking point that Republicans have been using for years. Trump was free to contest the election results. He was free to say false things. He was not free to lie to the American public. The First Amendment does not protect lies. That's why you can be sued for defamation. That's why you can be prosecuted for financial fraud if all you're doing is talking to someone and misrepresenting a financial transaction to them. The Republicans have been making this claim for years, that this was an effort to criminalize free speech, and it's simply false. There is plenty of Supreme Court precedent on this, and I guess they still haven't read it because the question was asked, but it's not controvertible.
Welcome back, guys. Look, I want to talk about this whole Jack Smith and Trump situation because it's really important and people need to understand what actually happened here. So basically, Jack Smith was the special counsel who was investigating Donald Trump for what happened after the 2020 election. Recently, he had to sit down for a deposition with the House Republicans, and honestly, it did not go the way Republicans probably hoped it would go. Let me break this down in simple terms. The Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee were trying to make Jack Smith look bad. They wanted to show that he was just doing this investigation because he does not like Trump or because he is political. But here's the thing, it didn't really work out that way. Smith came prepared and he had answers for everything they threw at him. What I find really interesting is that the Republicans spent most of their time complaining about being victims instead of actually challenging the evidence. Like they were not really saying, hey, this evidence is wrong or this witness lied. They were more focused on saying, oh, you are just picking on us because we are Republicans. That's not a strong argument when you are trying to defend someone against serious criminal charges. Now, Jack Smith made some really good points during his deposition. One of the most important things he had was about challenging election results. He explained that it's totally fine for candidates to say they think an election was unfair. That's happened in American history before. A.I. Gore, though he won in 2000. Other candidates have questioned results. That's protected by the First Amendment. Nobody's saying you can't complain about an election. But what Trump did was different. According to Smith, Trump wasn't just saying, I think I won or I think this was unfair. He was actively using lies to try to stop a lawful government process. He was telling people things he knew were not true to interfere with the certification of the election. That's not protected speech. That's criminal conduct. It's like the difference between saying, I don't like the store and actually trying to rob the store. One is an opinion, the other is a crime. What really makes Smith's case strong is who his witnesses were. They were not Democrats or people who hate Trump. Most of the key witnesses were actually Republicans who worked for Trump and supported him. These were his own people, his own Vice President Mike Pence, his own lawyers, his own campaign staff. When your own team is testifying against you, that carries a lot of weight. It's hard to say everyone is lying when they are all people you picked and trust. The former prosecutor in this discussion said something that really stuck with me. He said he is confident Trump would have been convicted if this case had gone to trial. That's a big statement. This is someone who knows how trials work, who knows what judiciaries look for. And he is saying the evidence was strong enough to convince 12 people beyond a reasonable doubt. And you know what? I can see why had said that. Look at what happened after Trump lost the election. He did not just concede like every other president in history. He kept pushing this idea that the election was stolen even though his own people were telling him it was not true. His own attorney general said there was no fraud. His own campaign lawyer said the cases had no merit, but he kept going anyway. Then you have January 6th. Trump told his supporters to come to Washington. He told them to fight like hell. He pointed them toward the Capitol while Congress was certifying the election. And what happened? They attacked the Capitol, police officers got hurt, people died, members of Congress had to run and hide. The vice president's life was in danger. That's not normal political protest, that's an attack on our democracy. Compare that to A.I. Gore in 2000. Gore, though he won Florida, there were real questions about the counting. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. But when the court made its decision, Gore gave a speech, conceded, and went home. He did not call his supporters to Washington. He did not tell them to fight. He accepted the result even though he disagreed with it. That's how it's supposed to work in a democracy. Then think about the First Amendment is that it does not protect all speech. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater when there's no fire. You can't threaten to hurt someone. You can't commit fraud by lying. And according to Jack Smith, you cannot use lies to try to overturn an election and stop a lawful government process. That's not political speech, That's criminal conduct. What's also interesting is when Republicans released this deposition, they put it out on New Year's Eve, which is like the classic time when you want to bury a story. If they thought this deposition made them look good, they would have released it on a Monday morning when everyone's paying attention. The fact that they dumped it on New Year's Eve tells you everything you need to know. They did not get what they wanted from this interview. Looking forward, we are probably going to see Republicans keep going after Jack Smith. They are going to keep having hearings and investigations, and Smith himself said he accepts Trump might try to come after him if Trump stays in power. That's a scary thought, right? A prosecutor doing his job and then worrying about personal retribution from the person he investigated. But here's what matters at the end of the day. We have to look at the facts and the evidence. We have to ask ourselves what really happened after the 2020 election. Did Trump honestly believe he won, or was he lying to hold on to power? Did he take responsible legal steps to challenge the results, or did he cross the line into criminal conduct? Those are the real questions, and based on what Jack Smith laid out in this deposition, the answers didn't look good for Trump. The evidence is there, the witnesses are credible, and the pattern of behavior speaks for itself. Thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more important stories. And I will see you in the next video.